My name is Anita. I go to school with teenagers right now, even though I'm old enough to be a grandmother. Basically, it happened because my parents wanted to move away from civilization. They didn't like the socialist government or the establishment that was there in the mid-50s. Exactly 1 year before I was born, they went away to live in the taiga. They chose a place to settle next to a river. The closest village was hundreds of miles away. According to my parents, they had spent 2 months looking for the perfect location. Mom and Dad then worked together to build a house. It took them about 5 months. Soon after, I was born. Obviously, I didn't go to school because there was no school to attend. I couldn't even imagine what it was like to go to school. You're probably wondering how I spent my time. Well, I helped my parents throughout spring, autumn, and summer. There was a lot of household chores to do and plenty of work in the garden, since of course we grew all of our food. In winter, I'd just play out in the open. My dad often took me ice fishing and would also play hockey or build snow palaces, while Mom was cooking a nice hot meal for us. We had no neighbors, so it got a bit boring until my little sister was born. We had a great time as teenagers together. At some point, our parents decided we were old enough to wander far beyond the vicinity of our house. The woods were a fascinating place. One summer, we built a tree house in a canopy of a great oak. That tree was one of a kind, so big and with plenty of thick branches to support a tree house. We loved it. We spent a lot of nights up there. It was actually safer than sleeping in the house with our parents, as no predator could climb the tree to get us. We did see plenty of wild animals roaming near our normal house. There were wolves, bears, moose, and even musk oxen. Occasionally, our parents would make us learn to count or read, but I only mastered the alphabet by 16. Even then, I was only able to spell out the syllables, unlike my little sister, who was more book smart. Now I suspect I had congenital brain condition like dyslexia, and that was why I couldn't study very well. When I was 24, our father was killed by a bear. He was just trying to protect the beehives that the bear wanted to destroy. Life got so much harder after Dad was gone with no man in the house. But we adopted after a couple years. Things were okay until eventually Mom died 20 years later. The two of us could barely get by with no one at all to help us. After 10 more years, our house started rotting and we wondered where else we could go. My sister and I had both been hoping to see that civilization that our parents despised so much, maybe just for a day. But it was a year later when we heard an unfamiliar monster roar in the woods. We picked out from behind a bush and saw people coming out of the monster. I ran to say hello, hoping they'd rescue us. They told us they were tourists. It was the first time in our lives that we saw a car or a person who wasn't family. Their clothes looked so weird to us. I showed them our house and shared the story of our lives. They found it very touching. When we explained we wanted to get out there, they promised to come back with a larger car. It was difficult to abandon our home where we had spent almost 6 decades. Luckily, the government gave us a sturdy house in a remote village, and our new home felt pretty much as quiet and familiar as our childhood home. When we settled down, I learned there was a school in the nearest big village. I had always wished I could go to school, so why not to make my dream come true? As soon as I got my ID, I went to the principal's office. Of course, she had her doubts about me, even after I explained the story of my life. She insisted a 57-year-old woman wouldn't fit in with primary school pupils, but I just kept coming to the school, bringing presents for the principal. Eventually, she had no choice but to give in to my pleas. She said I was educated enough to study with 3rd graders. Of course, my new schoolmates teased me and pointed fingers at me, but a few weeks later they got used to me and started treating me as their equal. I am 62 years old right now and I'm in 7th grade. I invited my sister to come study with me, but she firmly refused. She said school was no place for old people, but I know she's just too shy to meet new friends. I love studying. My class is pretty small. There are only 4 students including me, and we're good friends. We've been studying together for 4 years after all. My teachers got used to me too, even though many of them are younger than me. I'm an average student, but that's fine. I don't make plans for the future. I like where I am now. The only thing I want is to finish my education so I don't die ignorant.